Madam Chair, we are ready.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 8th meeting of the Citizens Advisory Committee for Costa Mesa Sanitary District. Let's see, we will get started with roll call.
Thank you. Committee member Rosemary Chora. Michael Toe.
Here.
Judith Gilo. Jeff Arbor. Dicky Fernandez.
Here.
Dean Fisher. Daniel Baum. Cindy Brenneman.
Here.
Annette Watson.
Here.
Vice Chair Sue Lester. And Chair Elodie Katz.
Thank you. All right, we'll open it up to public comments. But I see no members of the public, but did anyone send anything in?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, we'll move right along then. Item B1, approve the Citizens Advisory Committee meeting minutes of January 11th, 2023. Like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the Citizens Advisory Citizens Advisory Committee meeting minutes of January 11th as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay.
I wasn't here.
Vice Chair
I watched
Lester.
the meeting and read the notes, but
I'll abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay. Okay, so we will move on to item B2. Unless, do you have any, are there any suggestions for revising the order?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, so item B2, determine the feasibility and provide recommendation regarding biomass conversion project.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So CNR has an arrangement with a cement plant out in San Bernardino that uses biomass conversion, where they take plastics and they convert that into renewable energy. And they do that in place of coal and other fossil fuels, which is a great idea. And that's why when we heard about this, when CNR brought to our attention, we thought, hey, this is a great idea. Let's talk about this in the future. That's why we put in our strategic plan, because this could be another tool that we can use to increase our diversion rate, which our goal is trying to hit 75%. As you see in the staff report, there are definitely some pros to biomass conversion, and there are definitely some cons. However, the real big kicker on biomass conversion is at the bottom of your staff report, or I sent you a link on CalRecycle and their position on biomass. And unfortunately, CalRecycle is would only allow a maximum of 10% diversion on biomass technology. And because this technology is relatively expensive, and in addition to that, we know that if we were going to implement biomass conversion, that price most likely be a rate increase because it is expensive. So with that in consideration, and then also we know we have the 3-can system going to be rolling out. We know that rate's going to be increasing. So we didn't want to kind of put one increase on top of another. We think it'd be too much of a burden for the public. And so at this point, we just think it's the cost and the benefits outweighs looking further into biomass. Now, if CalRecycle changes their minds and they will allow a higher increase, a higher diversion of biomass, then I think it'd be a good time to relook at it. But this time, my recommendation is just to table this idea until CalRecycle changes their mind on biomass diversion. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions?
Question, where did the proposal come from? Was that from CRNR?
There really was no proposal. It's just CNR we were meeting and they said, hey, this is a new program. We had a partnership with the cement plant, and our ears perked up, said this looks a great idea. But then as we started digging further, and okay, CalRecycle kind of like put the squash on that with that 10% requirement.
Is there a sense of what you said it would be potentially at a higher cost,
Yes,
percentage wise?
I don't have that right. We didn't
would-
dive into the numbers because
Yeah.
we know that any kind of conversion technology is going to be costly. We know that for a fact. What the dollar amount, I just don't know at this time.
I had a very basic question because I was looking through all the links that were provided, and it seemed like the biomass, the source is organic matter. So I guess I wasn't making the link for how plastic was being converted.
Well, there's different yes, there's different type of biomass. You can use other type of organic materials, but the cement company is using plastics.
Okay, so they have a
it's-
different.
Yes, correct, correct.
And then if I'm understanding correctly, is this being proposed as an alternative to the anaerobic digester
It
potentially?
wasn't as alternative as an addition. Yeah, so to try to get us over the hump, that's 75% diversion. That's what we were thinking.
But it would be something where you'd be, because of the plastic element, you could be diverting something from the landfill. So
Yes, yes. Because you see it, you see plastic is very difficult to recycle. You see it in the newspaper about like read about the blog. Everyone heard about the blog, that huge plastic island that's as large as Texas is roaming around the ocean, right? Stuff that we want to try to avoid. So this might have been a nice way to help prevent something like that. But again, just because the cost and Cal Recycle doesn't fully embrace it, we just think it's not a good time at this point.
yes, please.
Have you seen any near from the AQMD in terms of what how they regulate the burn, or do you know if AQMD has even seen this?
My understanding, the Air Quality District out in San Bernardino supports this program.
They do.
Yes, it's in San Bernardino County, so they
Yeah.
do support it.
So there's a lot of scrubbing of that smoke or whatever going on, I guess, huh? Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are-
No, I don't. I don't believe anyone is. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Filed 2022 annual performance measurement report.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So this is our report that we present to the board every year on our performance measurement program. And just a refresher that this performance measurement program is a way for staff to evaluate our services and how effective our services are and where we can make improvements. It's not a way to really reprimand anyone for not meeting the standards. It's just a way to gather data, set a benchmark, gather data, see if we hit that benchmark. If we didn't, why didn't we hit that benchmark? And then determine what can we do to enhance it for next year. And as you see in 2022, some of the success that we achieved in 2022, one is obviously our SSOs, number of SSOs are dramatically decreased last year and the last couple of years. We've also increased employees' morale and satisfaction. We've also cleaned 79% of our wastewater collection system within a year. So those are some of the good things. And even from those positive aspects, we are even further advancing our operations techniques. Just recently, we acquired a third cleaning crew. So now we have 3 cleaning crews, and we're going to clean the entire system within 1 year. And so, so far, we've had any SSOs in the past 6 months, which is great, so that we're on the right track on that. Also, as far as we indicated our inflow, which is the amount of water that gets into the sewer system. This last rainstorm we had, I think Costa Mesa got nearly 4 inches of rain, so significant rain. Obviously, that recent storm did create some havoc in our system. We had some power outages, but we were ready for that. The one issue that we did experience down in the Newport Beach area is this one main line. So it's a 10-inch main line. We received some high water alerts. And so when staff responded around 3 o'clock in the morning, there was no clogging issue. It was just a lot of water getting into the system. And we believe that's causing from laterals, from the private laterals. And so one of the differences we're going to do, Mark Escar, engineer, just is going to enter a contract with a private contractor to use a specialized equipment that'll go in and televise laterals to see where the water is coming in. And if we can identify the source, then we can reach out to those property owners and hopefully reduce the inflows, because I know that's a big issue with OCSD, or Orange County Sanitation District. The less water comes in our system, the less water impacts the treatment plants. So we want to mitigate our rainwater. So again, that's an area we're improving on. As you all see in the staff report, there are some areas we did not hit our benchmark. Obviously, this is one dear to heart to our president, the experience modification, or EMOD, which indicates, the number of injuries that we have. While our EMOD is going down, it's not to the level where I'd like to get it, which is less than 100%. That tells you that if you're less than 100%, then the amount of injuries you're occurring is below average in the industry. So that's what we want you to get less than 100. Also, we're still getting some issues with trash carts being replaced within 7 business days. So we'll have to work with CNR on that. And also residents have been responding to Go CMSD and complaining about the services. And we believe that's more on the CNR side with delayed pickups and delay in delivering the service. So we're working with CNR on correcting that as well. So again, these are really, again, not a way to reprimand staff. We don't reprimand staff for not hitting the benchmark. It's just a way for us to evaluate our services and how do we continually improve. So happy to answer any questions you may have. Yes. Yeah, it goes back 2 years. So it's like it's a 2-year. Yeah.
Odd to is what they basically essentially for you non-HR people, that's what they look at to decide what your rates are going to be for insurance purposes. So having a lower X line saves you money essentially. But I was just curious, like, do you guys have a like a safety who does the safety program fall under?
Yes, it falls on our administrative services manager. So Diana Bodrowski. So she oversees our risk management and our IAPP, our injury illness prevention program. We do have a safety committee that consists of management and field staff, which meets, I believe, on a monthly basis. And so if they identify if there's any injuries, then they will discuss the injury and discuss what can be done to prevent that. Unfortunately, a lot of I want to say the injuries that we've experienced in the past are really avoidable. And you think about it, it almost makes you laugh. I won't say laugh, but it's just like, for example, one person, we were doing earthquake safety, duck and cover down and below the desk, and he comes up, hits his head on the desk, on the bottom of the desk, right? How do it's hard to avoid something like that. It's just common sense. You got to watch your head, right? And so stuff like that, it's unfortunate, but it happens, and then that affects our email. But I had other people, fall off the Vector truck for just not using the steps correctly. Just common stuff that you find these injuries that as a manager you kind of like, oh my gosh, and you kind of like doesn't make sense, but it happens.
I don't know if you guys are allowed to do this because you're a district and you have to obviously be careful because people take it to a direction they shouldn't. But I don't know if you're able to like reward people on a quarterly basis for being safe.
Yeah, so what we do is actually every month I have an all hands meeting with all the staff, and on the agenda is an opportunity where someone can nominate someone who works over and beyond and being safe. And when they do, we give them a nice little gift card and they're recognized in front of everyone. We do that. We also give, we have an annual award, a Safety Person of the Year award. So we give that to an employee that demonstrates continually working in a safe manner, doesn't have any injuries, stuff like that. So we do recognize people for working safely. And
buy everybody lunch for being safe. If there's
yeah, definitely.
And I'm assuming, I know you have the IIPP, you have all that stuff, but do you guys have a return to work program and somebody that actually follows your workers' comp injuries for the more severe stuff? And the reason I'm asking is because workers' comp adjusters for insurance companies tend to leave people twisting in the wind and they get lost. And they end up being out way longer than they need to be in a lot of cases. And it seems like, and this is true for the city of Costa Mesa, the people who really want to come back to work can't get a hold of the person that needs to give them the approval at the insurance company. And then you have the people that have no intention of coming back that get paid for 2 years because nobody pays attention to it. And I know that hasn't happened here, but it can happen. So I just wanted to mention that.
Well, our insurance provider is the Special District Risk Management Authority, which President Schaefer is a board member on that organization, and they provide all that support for us on injury. So what you're talking about, I'm assuming that's what SDMA does. They do that.
Scott, let me just tag on to that real quick since you brought it up, Sue. I'm on the board of directors of the Joint Powers Authority that provides insurance coverage for the district. whether it be workers' comp or the liability and some other things. So from the board of SDRMA, the Special District Risk Management Authority, we were going through, we use what's called a TPA, a third-party administrator. So we don't handle the claims. We turn them over to an agency who handles the claims. If any of you have ever been on workers' comp, or if you know of anybody that's been on workers' comp, the success to anybody getting off workers' comp and reducing the claim amount, which ends up going into our EMOD, is the quickness of service. In other words, as soon as you get hurt, the quicker you get taken care of and you get followed up by an administrator, usually the claims get reduced. The longer you wait, people get upset and they want to go to the doctor more, and there's a lot more that has to be done. So last year, SDRMA, we basically fired our TPA. They were horrible. They were absolutely horrible. And we've gone to a new TPA who is dedicated a whole section of people just to the clients of SDRMA, which Costa Mesa Sanitary District has to be. So over the next year or two, that's going to change. I mean, when you look at our success in work-related days lost, we're outstanding. Nobody has 0 days lost to work, but the cost of the service has gone up because people aren't getting the treatment they need to get them fully recovered.
As a rule, generally in California that I've seen, any employer who's had an injury is failing.
Oh, it's horrible.
And the injured parties are the ones that suffer and the employer suffers.
And it's, I mean, hopefully none of you are doctors in here, but if you are, I apologize for what I'm going to say. There is a tendency that doctors will use to let their injured parties, injured people malinger a little bit. So that's got to be addressed at some point as well. So.
I was curious, is it accessible on the website to?
Yes. So we have on our transparency page, it's at all our past reports are on there as well. So we share this on a quarterly basis to our board members. So just to show the progress we're making throughout the year.
You said the EMOD was going to go down in 2023. What quarter will that be?
The year. So I won't know probably for January of next year.
I thought it was wonderful seeing the preventive maintenance and the general transparency, and the SSOs are down. I was wondering if you could give us a little about the August 8th incident SSO. The 19th Street, I think it was.
Don't know which one that was.
Was it a commercial?
Scott, as a reminder, that was the one where sewage was coming out of a manhole in on the west Port Boulevard on 19th and running down Pomona maybe, or one of the streets. And we did the overflow calculation, and I guess part of it got into the storm drain, as I recall.
What was the cause of that? Do you remember?
It was grease related. I think I was told, or I think I recall, because it's been several months now, that wasn't that one of the that area sort of has some grease tributary to it? Is that one of the areas we're kind of focused on right now?
On 19th Street, yes, there are a lot of those restaurants that are grandfathered in that don't have grease intercept. That's probably the cause. Yes. Yes.
That would do it.
It's been a few months and my memory's a little foggy, so bear with me.
When EEC, I think, came to talk about.
Yes. How about pun intended?
Lisa's a word.
I have a question on that. And I'm assuming that when you're responding to Well, if it was coming out of a manhole, you couldn't tell the direct area, but if it's going into like a business and you respond, you would do some sort of cost recovery, but
Well,
I'm
if it
not
was a-
sure even.
Yes, so if it was a private spill caused by the restaurant, then yes, we would send them a bill for that. That's our policy. We do that. Yes.
And then tying back to what you were talking about with the rain ingress, how do we proactively ensure that we're under the 2% threshold that OC San sets up?
Well, what we do, our policy is that we go in and make sure that certain manholes are plugged and sealed to ensure water does not get in. Now, we know where the streets flood in Costa Mesa. We have a map from the city. And so we use that map and we make sure that those manholes that are prone in the areas of flood are plugged and sealed. We don't want to plug and seal all 4,500 manholes because, then you still want gases to be released. Otherwise, you're going to have, lids popping up, because of gas buildup. But that's what we focus on are the flooded streets. And then, as we mentioned earlier, we believe private laterals are a significant reason. We know just recently the fairgrounds was a big contributor. So we worked with the fairgrounds, had a couple of laterals plugged up. We had them do some improvements. And because of that, we saw a significant improvement on inflows in our Mendoza tributary area. So that was a big help. I think right now, as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be the private laterals, particularly on the Indus down in Newport Beach that we're going to be focusing on.
You know what I All right. She is. Okay. Cindy, did you have any questions or comments? No. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. So we'll move along to item B4, receive and file the capital improvement plan update.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to turn this over to Mark Esker. He's going to give you an update on our capital improvement plan.
Yeah, what was included in your package this evening was basically an example of the report that I give to our board of directors every month. I typically report on, I'll say, active capital projects that occur from the middle of one month to the middle of the next month. And I try to basically shorten the report so that I skip all the projects that aren't active. And then the other thing I'll cover is items of interest like rainfall. Mr. Carroll described, the report where we do a calculation and determine how do we have, and that's usually included in this calculation. And then the last thing that's normally included that wasn't provided, incidentally, I must have forgotten to give it to Mr. Carroll, but we have a one-page summary now. It used to be several pages, but Finance worked with me to get it onto one page, but it's basically a one-page summary of all the money we're spending on the various capital projects, and that's included. And that way our board members, or any of the public for that matter, can look at how much money are we spending by project and where we are, and are we overspent, or those types of things. So I basically give a status update, cost on capital outlay, and then I answer any questions or discuss any issues of interest during that particular meeting or that particular month as far as capital improvements. For example, next month I'll be adding a project 343, which is our Red Hill Sewer at Baker replacement. We're replacing 20 feet of 8-inch sewer right out down the road here a little bit, that when we went to reline some ductile iron pipe, it was such bad shape we couldn't reline it. So we need to actually replace it. So the project is in design. Recently, I would say about 2 weeks ago, we started design. We're ready to bid the design and get it out on the street. So that'll be added in projects like that. You'll probably read that project 342, our headquarters landscaping, we will be doing a bid opening in April. There's a mandatory pre-bid conference coming up on Wednesday, the 15th. So that we'll be meeting with prospective contractors, walking the site, giving them any restrictions, things like that. So I cover those things on my monthly report. And then with that, if you have any questions or specific concerns or thoughts or questions on anything I did report on last month to our board of directors, I'm happy to answer those questions now.
Mark, what method did you use on the brick manhole rehab?
We basically use I'll say it's like a fiberglass reinforced liner, but it's a polyurethane. And basically, we have two products that are alternatives to be used, Dickie, but we basically, it's a fiberglass reinforcement sack that gets pre-measured for our manhole. A month after they do the measurement, they get the product, they saturate it with the resins and the polyurethane, and then they use a steam to basically blow it up like a balloon and cure it inside of the manhole. And because it's a structural liner, if the mortar between the bricks or the bricks disintegrates further, it can actually stand on its own. Fortunately, our manholes are typically about 6 feet deep. We don't have, I'll say, many that are 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 feet deep. So we can do these, I'll say, easy and quick alternatives to rehabilitate our manholes.
And on the next one, the calcium removal phase 1. Oh, sorry. Can you tell us a little bit about the calcium removal phase 1 project?
Yeah, I sort of did the districts decided we were planning to do a high pressure robotic water removal of our calcium. And based on talking with the vendor that provides that service, it looks like it was going to be very expensive. So we went and tried a different method of calcium removal, chain flail. I'm not a big fan of chain flail because, and back up and say, a chain flail is basically a device that is inserted into the sewer, and it's on a hydraulic motor that spins, and it's basically a chain on a head, and that chain just spins around in a big circle. And as they push the chain flail into the calcium or into the rust or whatever it is they're trying to remove that's on the inside of the pipe, that chain basically knocks that material off of the pipe, and I was gonna say gets it back, the opening back to where it's the original or close to the original diameter. Well, we tried this with the calcium and we found it was very effective. We had 0 damage with the 640 feet that we tried the method on. And so based on that and compared to the price, which is about a third of the price, we're going to try a phase, and we're going to spend about $100,000 worth of chain flail removal of calcium in our 8-inch lines. And let me state for the committee is that we have about 6,000 feet of, I'll say, residential sewer mostly that has calcium that we think it's, related to groundwater getting into the pipe, clay pipe, or through the clay pipe, and it basically gets calcium starting to line the inside of the pipe. And as over the 30 years that the pipe has been installed, the calcium goes thicker and thicker and thicker. And in some cases, we get stalactites growing and they hang down into the sewer. So as you know, anything that's in the sewer will block the sewer, and rags get caught on it, strings get caught on it. And eventually you get an SSO if you're not continually cleaning those lines. And so our staff has done a good job of keeping it maintained. So our goal with this project in the next probably 3 or 4 phases is to basically remove the calcium in that 6,000 feet of pipeline. The CCTV work done back in 2017 timeframe, we've graded that, and we're going to do I'll say the worst sections first and work our way to where the calcium might just be, say, a 1/2 inch or 3 inch, or 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch covering the inside of the pipe. Because again, the larger the opening, the less likely there's going to be an SSO or material getting caught on it. But Dickie, to answer your question, we're going to probably do about, I'm going to say 150,000 a year for the next 3 years. And we think that'll basically get rid of the calcium in our system. But right now we're planning to use chain flail.
Hey, Mark, is there update on the timeline related to the first project, Project 309, all the Wilson Street improvements?
No. What committee member Toe is talking about is the city of Costa Mesa is completely, I'll say, ground down Wilson Street from basically the Newport, SR 55 Newport Freeway, all the way to, I think it's Placentia. And they basically did a 2-inch overlay, and as part of that overlay, they have a line item by their contractor to bring our manholes to grade. And the reason we allow the city to use their contractor is that way, if there is a premature failure of the pavement around that manhole frame and cover, at least it's the city's contractor and they're not looking to file a claim with us. Well, what's happened on the Wilson Street project is the city's contractor may have used faulty materials, or maybe the asphalt material was too cold when they applied it to the street. And so as a result, it may not have had proper compaction. And so the city rejected the entire length of the pavement on Wilson Street. Before the city had determined that this failure had occurred, the contractor had gone through and raised about half of our manhole frame and covers to grade, which means that half of them are still buried in about 3 or 4 inches of asphalt. I don't know when the city is working through this with their contractor. One of the options, I believe, one of the options that is being considered is that the contractor, my understanding is that the contractor is offered to basically not charge the city for the pavement. And then what they will do is when there's a pavement failure, they'll come back and repair the pavement in those sections of asphalt that has failed. But when they get that all figured out, then they'll resume raising our manholes to grade. I and our wastewater superintendent have discussed this project, and we know that there's been some delays. So should we need to get into our manholes and the city contractor can't do it timely, or if it's an emergency, we will bring a crew in and chip it open and we'll get our manhole open and access it. But if we can get by and allow the city to I guess, negotiate with the contractor and finish their job, then we're going to try to do that. But no schedule has been submitted to us, and I don't know exactly where they are. I will say there is a second part, or maybe it's even an independent project that was bid, was Placentia is getting repaved as well, and that part of the work has already started. So, do you know when they're going to be finished?
I don't, but I'm gonna ask that question. And then the last question related to that is are there any extra costs associated with this work or rework to the district directly? Or is it only under certain circumstances there would be an extra cost, like if you had to go in an emergency and access those manhole covers?
Right now, I'm going to say there hasn't been an incurred cost to us. But again, we don't know how long. If it takes 6 months or a year, that may become an issue because we do need to clean our sewers. So depending on what happens and what the expenses are, but my preference is, and I would recommend to the wastewater superintendent and our general managers, is try to work with the city and let this go through to a conclusion. And that way we're not going to incur any costs. But of course, not to the detriment of SSOs or some other issue that may occur.
Best proposed rollout plan for the 3-cart system for compliance with SB 1383.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as you know, back in January, our board of directors, they approved the amended agreement with CRNR, which outlines the implementation of our 3-can system and complying with SB 1383. So I would like to share with you our rollout plan that Gina put together, this great brochure. Really proud of her putting this brochure. It was really well done. She shared this with the board. I thought definitely the committee needed to see this. So I'm going to turn this over to Gina to describe to you what we identified in our plan. So Gina.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Good evening, members of the committee. So like Scott mentioned, CMSD will be rolling out a 3-cart curbside recycling system to replace our current 2-cart system. And so tonight I'm sharing our preliminary sort of high-level communications plan that we prepared in anticipation for this rollout in 2024. So I'm just going to walk through it briefly and then open it up to comments and feedback from the committee. So to begin, we wanted to identify the key messages that we believe are most important to communicate to our customers about the transition to the 3-cart system. We want to make sure we answer the biggest questions of how the change is going to occur, what customers are going to be asked to do, and why the change is happening. And so to answer those questions, we have to explain the 3-cart delivery process and logistics. We have to provide an overview of the 3-cart system and what goes into each cart. And then we have to describe the reasons for the change. So as you can see, we've listed the key details here, and we do plan to use this as a guide for developing our messages. It is still pretty early on, so these are sort of flexible things based on the operational plan that CR&R comes up with. But this is what we have so far. And then next, we compiled some common strategies for distributing information through print, digital, and in-person methods. You can see here that we plan to use our tried and tested communications methods, which include but aren't limited to postcard mailings, videos, flyers, social media and email campaigns, press releases, and town hall meetings. The town hall meetings will be in various locations throughout our service area. And when possible, we will translate all of our communications into Spanish to make sure that we're addressing our community members in their preferred language. We plan to carry out the scope of work shown here with our existing communications consultants, Tripepi Smith, in order to leverage the institutional knowledge that they've built working with us. And also they have extensive work related to SB 1383 with other local public agencies, including the city of Costa Mesa. So we want to make sure that our messages are consistent and coordinated. Here you can see a breakdown of the budget for this scope of work. These are the same totals that we provided to the board when they saw the CR&R contract amendment last month. The cost of Tripepi Smith's consulting services for designing, developing content, and coordination is $75,000. And the cost of print and digital advertising and mailing and postage below is another $75,000. So we're looking at a grand total of $150,000. As mentioned in the staff report, this has not yet been approved by the board, but we are planning to include this in our request for fiscal year 2023-24 budget. And that's going to be brought to the board in June of this year for consideration. On the next page, we have a timeline for the project, beginning with the review of this plan, followed by the execution of our consulting agreement with Tripepi Smith, hopefully by May of this year. And then once the agreement goes into effect on July 1st, we would work with the consultant on content development, coordination, and planning all the way through December of this year. And then after the holidays, beginning in February of next year, that will be 6 months prior to the cart delivery, we would implement the communications plan. So meaning we would send out the mailings and letters, we would run all of the social media, email, and video campaigns, and we would be updating the website, and the town hall meetings would take place. So that's all going to happen between February and August of next year. And during that same period, CR&R is going to be sending out letters to the customers that were previously exempt from the organics recycling program and letting them know that the state is no longer allowing exemptions. They're also going to do a mailing where they confirm the number of carts and ask for people's preferred cart sizes. That's about 3 months out to delivery. And then after all of that occurs, we are going to have CR&R do the cart delivery between August and September of next year. And then the first date of collection is going to be September 30th of 2024. That's all tentative at this point, but that's what we're hoping for. So lastly, we put together some metrics to help determine whether our outreach and education is impactful. These include continuing to measure our contamination levels, which is required under SB 1383. Now that CMSD has some contamination studies under a belt, we can compare them with the contamination levels after the 3-cart rollout. And our goal is to have 10% or less contamination in each cart. We also want to continue tracking our diversion rate on a quarterly basis and continue to strive for 75% diversion or higher. We have yet to achieve this, but this is the state's goal, so we're recommending to keep this as our agency's goal just for consistency. In terms of our digital reach and engagement, we've set some measurable goals related to social media, email, and website and video views. We believe these are achievable and they're pretty in line with previous campaigns that we've done throughout the last 2 years. And lastly, for our town halls, we set a goal of attracting at least 50 attendees at each event, which is also pretty much in line with similar events we've hosted in the past. So that concludes my report, but I'm happy to take any questions and comments.
Putting this together, it's a really nice presentation. Does anyone have any questions for Gina?
I'll make the offer that in my official capacity with your outreach, when you get to the point of developing all of the websites and collaterals, we can send e-alert or e-alerts out to the same 2 zip codes in Costa Mesa to amplify the message as well. Once we get to that point, 2024. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. That would be great.
Can you tell me more about the cart tags that are described in the budget? It says 2 cart tags and hangers.
Put them in the budget. They're not really set in stone yet, but we were hoping to have some preliminary cart hangers just to say what goes into each cart as sort of a welcome packet. And we're going to work collaboratively with CRNR on that. We set aside 2 additional ones just in case we see certain contamination issues. We can use that to address specific things that we're seeing. But yeah, we don't have an exact plan for it yet. It just is in the budget.
Okay, thank you. And when I look at this, a lot of this is very like social media, online focused. And so some people that may not have internet connection or be big on social media or maybe not even following us on social media, the only thing they're gonna see are those cart tags. And then the other question I have, and I'm not sure if you're able to answer this, but maybe you, Scott, are the lids going to be hot stamped with information on what goes in each cart? So like infographics on like, the green cart, and there's images of things that go in there. And then the recycling cart, it might show just an outline of a can or a bottle or some cardboard.
Yes, it won't be hot, but there'll be like a sticker on there that'll identify what goes in the carts.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so one of the things I asked CRNR to do, and they've agreed to do, how many of you have driven through neighborhoods and you look at people's trash cans and what's on top of them? Amazon boxes, cardboard boxes. It's imperative that those things get broken down. I mean, we have to, so CRNR at the bequest of yours truly, it's going to have a sticker on there that says, break down your cardboard boxes. Now, it's probably not going to do a whole lot of good for some people, but at least we're going to have it on there so they know to cut those darn things out.
Great.
Especially at Christmas time.
And then how often are you going out for an RFP for consultants that do this type of work? I mean, I'm assuming that you already have a consultant in place for this type of work.
Yes, we do for the outreach efforts.
Mhm.
The last time we did it it was 3 years ago. Yeah, we did 3 years ago. And I believe according to our code, we can have a contract of 5 years with a vendor. So technically we could keep Tri Pepe Smith a couple more years, then we go out to bid again.
What's going to happen to, I have 2 carts now. What's going to happen to the extra cart that we already have?
You have 2 carts. Is it a mixed waste cart or do you have one mixed waste cart? Do you know?
I have 2 regulars and one for yard waste
Okay.
and
So you have 3 carts, right? So you have
Yes.
2 regulars and 3. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take one of those regular ones away and we're gonna give you a blue, another one, but it has a blue lid on it. And
oh,
that blue lid, that's where you put your recyclables in. So you'll still have 3 carts, but now you're gonna have to source separate for all 3 of them.
right, okay.
And then it seems like this is more Tri Pepe Smith, but the knock and talks, are those still going to be part of with CR&R?
Yes, we still have those, yes. Because
Okay.
they seem to be worked very well in Newport Beach. So we'll continue that.
And then I know at I think it was our last meeting, we talked about how to reach different groups of people. And there were some really great ideas about working with the schools and the libraries and.
Yeah, we're
Not going to be included.
gonna try the school district. It's a bit of a challenge because
Then play is on meeting. How did that?
yeah, it's a challenge because they a lot of times they have the curriculum already set up, and so it's hard to kind of squeeze in between other curriculum issues. So but we'll try our best with the school district, but we do know we are gonna use the school district for their was it the mail chip? Was it called the mail?
Each jar.
Yes.
Mhm.
So can you describe what that is?
Yeah, so they use this online flyer distribution service jar where they just distribute different flyers via email to, I believe, the parents, faculty, whoever's on their mailing list. So we've used it before and we'll continue to.
Oh, then I think that was listed in here too. Yeah. Perfect.
I have a really silly question that maybe nobody will care about, but it bugs me, so I'm gonna ask. The blue container that we're gonna get, are they gonna be like the organics containers in structure, or are they gonna be like the other ones? And the reason I'm asking is I don't know if anybody's noticed this. This is what I thought you were gonna say, and then you like took a left at the Amazon boxes. The organics cans, when they empty them and they set them down, the lids do not close. The lids flip open. And more often than not, a lot of times they'll tip over. And all the people on my mom's street complain about the flies because the lids don't close on the organics cans. And I was talking to them about, the 3-can system. And everybody asked, they're like, are we going to have this kind of can? And is that one going to flip open and tip over? And I'm like, I don't know, I'll ask. But the organics cans do that because they're just structurally different. I don't know.
Honestly, I don't have an answer for you for that, but I'll talk to CNR. That is concern the lids not being shut when they put the carts down. So I'll address that to them.
Okay, and then I just wanted to make a comment. I watched the liaison meeting between the city and water and everybody. And Sand District, high five. You guys put on a great meeting and you had great topics on there. But as a resident, I was extremely disappointed with how little the city said about anything in terms of, I don't think anybody said one thing as far as trash and recycling and SB 1383. You brought it up and you opened the door wide and nobody walked through it. Like they didn't say they're doing anything. And that's extremely disturbing to me because I know how many renters we have and I know how many dumpsters we have. And I know how many people are being set up to fail and be fined because they're not doing their part. So I just want to say shame on them. I'm going to go over and start hammering them. But I thought you guys did a great job. And I looked at, what everybody had to say and crickets from the city of Costa Mesa. So shame on them.
No, not always.
Any part of this outreach still covered by a grant from Cal Recycling? Okay. The whole thing or?
No, not the whole thing. It'll last, I think, the grant will end next year. So, and we're using some of the money for staffing as well. So. yes. Yes.
Oh, Annette.
I guess I'm a little confused about the commission rate. Who's going to get dinged if we don't comply? Individual people or districts? I mean, or areas, neighborhoods, or what?
Yeah, well, we have to have evidence, right? We just can't. So it basically, someone will probably lift, what happened, they lift your card up and if they see contaminants in it, then the way we're working out, we haven't finalized it now, but you would get like a fine from CRNR for like $25. And every time you're caught, if you're caught again, then the fine goes up and it goes up and then we get involved. So the idea is really to, get their attention, change their behavior and reduce, don't contaminate your materials. And unfortunately, finding people, that's the way that catches their attention. But even before we do that, we're gonna do a ton of outreach. So if we find your contamination, we give you like, I think at least 3 warnings, and saying, hey, look, you're contaminated. And I'm sorry, if you don't get it by the 4th time, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we're gonna get fined. But there are gonna be several warnings beforehand.
So people are going to walk around and kind of look through? the
Yeah,
park?
yes, yeah,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
See, if you really don't like your neighbors, go contaminate their carts and let them get fined. That's what you do.
Wow.
Didn't want to go down this road of being trash cops, but
So
unfortunately, the
who-
state's holding us
Who
to
will
it.
be the people walking around checking from? our-
My staff and CNR staff. So, yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I was also thinking that it would be good to include in this education and outreach how the sorting occurs in the home. Because currently, like I have a mixed waste can in my home, and then I also have my handy dandy pail for my organics. So when I yell in my house, hey, time to get the trashes out, I say it plural, trashes. I know that's not right, but I say it anyway. Everybody knows like, okay, we've got to get all the mixed waste into this cart in the yard and then the organics goes into the other cart. But when we start rolling out the 3-cart system, I don't have a 3-cart system inside my home. So I need to,
Basically like a separate like cart for your recyclables.
Yes.
haul away.
I need to make a target run and get my home ready for the 3-cart system. So that's something that I think people don't always realize. And if they don't have that extra ability to sort in their home, then it's all going to go in the mixed waste can.
Not the videos that were mentioned in the presentation.
We're budgeting to make new videos because it is a different process now. So that's a great point. We should include that and probably something we can tackle in the town halls as well, just demonstrating that.
Comments? No? No? Okay. All right. Well, we'll close that out. We'll move on to closing items. Any committee member comments? All right, well, I'll start. I just want to mention that it's the last meeting of the term. So any members whose 2-year membership is expiring, they are accepting applications. I saw on the website through Sunday, March 19th. Is that correct? Okay. And Vice Chair Lester and I had a question, as we are the last 2 of the original committee members coming up on 5 years. Is the term limit now removed?
Well, I'll address
It's
that.
been 6 years when I looked
Yeah,
at it
I'll-
like a month ago.
I'll address that issue. Thank you, Madam Chair. So first, yes, you are correct. We have several committee members, terms that are expiring. We have 5 members, Gilo, Jeff Arbor, Cindy Brenneman, Vice Chair Sue Lester, and Chairwoman Ellie Katz. And first, we want to thank you very much for your service We know you do this on your volunteering time, and, you know, we greatly appreciate you spending, you know, the evening with us, and we value everything you say. We really do. So thank you very much for your participation. So to address the terms, what staff is planning to do is on March 24th, the end of the month, when the board will be considering applications. Staff is also going to be presenting a revision to the policy by removing the term limits. It was, I mean, there'll still be term limits, but as you know, the way it's written, once you've done your term, you can't serve again. So the idea is, what we're going to recommend to the board is that still do 2 years. But if that committee member wants to continue serving for another 2 years, and that committee member submits the applications, then let's consider that member. So you can continue to serve if you want to. So that's what we're going to be recommending to the board.
Didn't the board vote like 2 years ago? This was a topic at a board meeting. Because I remember I went and I chewed you guys out at the meeting, and I think you voted to say that volunteers should be able to volunteer as long as they want. Am I smoking crack? I don't, I mean,
Could be.
because I looked on the website and it doesn't say that there's term limits.
Right, I think, but it still says it in the
There's a two-
booklet.
There's a 2-year term.
It says, I thought in the booklet, if I remember correctly, I don't think we revised the booklet. It says in the booklet that you serve 2 2-year terms, and once that you're done. So that's the booklet we're going to bring back to the staff, to the board, to recommend that, as you mentioned, if a committee member or a member of the public wants to continue serving on this committee, and the board, they submit their application, the board accepts them, great, we'd love to have them. So to kind of address your issue,
Because, I mean, come on.
I don't remember.
Board
us
members
talking-
don't have term limits and can serve 888 years, and volunteers can only be there for 6. That is.
Put me on the spot tonight. I'm not going to let you, because I don't remember.
It makes sense to me. And I'm not.
but we're gonna, hopefully we'll bring that to the board at the end of the month, and that'll be changed. So if that's preventing you from considering submitting applications, please don't. We encourage you to submit another application if you want to continue helping us. We'd greatly appreciate it.
All right, that was my comment. Does anyone have any? Vice Chair Lester? Anything else? No?
I don't think so.
Hope to let you come back because you do a good job.
Thank you. Pleasure to be on the committee. I can't believe it's been 5 years already. All right, well, with that, wow, it's 7.
You didn't ask for board or staff comments.
I'm so sorry. You're right.
So-
Are there any board comments?
There's just one. I've said, I always talk too much, but that's because of what I do for a living and because I'm involved. At the last regular board meeting, I had asked staff to arrange a joint meeting with the board and with CAC. We haven't, I don't remember if we did that. I think we did in the very beginning. Yeah. But I'm encouraging staff to put together a time when we can all meet together, our board and of course all of you. I think what I'd like to do is have the committee come up with some questions or some topics that we want to talk about. And I'm going to encourage my fellow board members to do the same. And then maybe staff and Elodie, you and I can take a look at those. And there may be some questions we don't want to address, but I don't know who those would come from. Sorry, Cindy. And I'm being very facetious, Sue, you know, so that's going to be on the calendar whenever we can fit it in to have a joint meeting.
Fabulous idea. I don't think we've done it since possibly the redistricting. It's been a long time.
It's been at least since redistrict,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'd encourage all of you to think about what you'd like us to talk in general. Okay.
Staff comments, other staff comments? Okay. No?
I have-
Oh.
Sorry, President or Chair Katz. This coming year, I guess I'd like some direction from the CAC and basically find out, what, do you guys have any interest, for example, to take any tours? We recently, and we're in the warranty period for a President Pump Station. It's a rather new station. So is that something, for example, the committee would be interested in visiting at some point or another? We have some interesting force main projects coming up. Geisler, I was gonna say, is sort of off the beaten path. So when we're actually in construction, if the CAC would like to see a construction project in process, I'm sure Scott and I could make arrangements with you and our agency to make some kind of a tour happen. I don't know if you're interested in, after the budget adoption, if you want us to go over, for example, what we think we're going to spend over the next 2 years in capital, things like that. If there's any items that this committee is interested in, please get to Mr. Carroll and get your requests in, and I'd be happy to do whatever your pleasure, I guess. Okay?
Idea. All right, Regina. Yes.
I just wanted to mention that we ordered some new kitchen pails and we have them available right outside the door. If anybody wants them, they have some compostable bags inside as well for you to test out.
Are they a new design or just additional? Oh,
New design.
oh. Oh, oh, that's great.
Good, we use it here. They're all affixed to them. We have a magnet that's inside.
Arlene?
With the carts coming out, this is going to be a battle because there's a lot of people that feel differently on it. And so it's really up to us. And that's why I think that this joint meeting would be good too, because it's a time where we can all come together. And, you know, you can't figure it's too soon because it's coming up. I mean, I don't know where the year's going anyway. And so it is important that we have public relations with this, but we have to do it within as well as without, you know. And so I think it's important that we all think about these carts, because there are people that already have come up and said, there's no way I can get something else in the garage, you know. And you have to feel that way. So, you can't take that many people as a population that we serve to be able to get to each one individually. So this is where this town hall type of meeting helps, and it has to start with us here.
That's an excellent point. Thank you. I'd like to thank you and President Schaefer for attending these meetings. It's nice having you here and getting your input, and I really appreciate you being here.
Appreciation comes from us for what you guys are volunteering to do, so thank you.
In case I don't reply, or I reply and they're like, we're so done with her. I just wanted to say thank you to you and to staff. I think you guys do amazing things here, and the level of professionalism and hard work and dedication to what you're trying to accomplish is admirable. And I've appreciated my time with all of you immensely. Board members, thank you. And all of you here, I learn a lot from all of you. So it's been exciting to have members who ask questions and are in it and can educate the rest of us along with, you know, what you're trying to accomplish with the staff. So thank you to all of you.
All right, with that, I'm going to close out the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Our next meeting is Wednesday, May 10th. Oh, excellent. Bye, Cindy. Feel better?